Hello, my name is Tony, and I'm inviting you, the viewer, to join me on a journey of discovery where we uncover the truth about employment law and answer your questions. Are you ready? Hello and welcome to another episode of Employment Law, The Truth is Out There. As always, I'm joined by employment law expert Alison Colley, solicitor and founder of Real Employment Law Advice. Hello Alison, how are you today?
Hi Tony, I'm really good.
Are you looking forward to another fantastic question?
I am, yes. And
Well,
who's your question from today?
It is from one of our viewers called Brett. Now, he has been given a settlement agreement from his boss, Jermaine. He doesn't understand what it is. He doesn't understand what he needs to do. And he just needs some help. So, Alison, settlement agreements, over to you.
Okay, so a settlement agreement, Tony, is a way in which you can end your employment and or resolve disputes with your employer. So what I should say is that if you're an employee and your employer wants to offer you some money to leave or to, again, waive your rights, there are only two ways you can do that legally. One is by a settlement agreement and the other is via ACAS using an agreement known as a COT3. But what we're going to be talking about is a settlement agreement, which is a longer document which you're required to get legal advice on.
Okay, so what is it? What does it look like then? You said it's a long agreement.
So basically, what the law recognises is that employees are in a lesser bargaining position than employers when it comes to offering money to waive your rights or end your employment. And so a settlement agreement is a legal format for an agreement to resolve those rights. So it's a long document that contains usually a lot of clauses and legal information, which is another reason why you need to get legal advice about it.
Okay, so you can't just have anyone look at this. It has to be a solicitor.
Yeah, there are some exceptions, like trade union and certain people who are regulated to advise, but generally it's solicitors who advise on it.
And can it be any solicitor?
It can be any solicitor, so any solicitor can sign it off. And some solicitors who aren't specialists in employment law do sign them off. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you go to a solicitor that doesn't understand employment law, because it does change all the time. And you are effectively signing a document which waives all of your rights or potential claims against your employer. So it's really important that you understand exactly what you're getting in return for those rights you're waiving.
And how much is it going to cost me then to go and take this to a solicitor?
So whilst it's not legally required, in the majority of cases, employers will contribute to your legal costs for getting advice on a settlement agreement. And so that means that they'll put something in the agreement that says, we'll pay for your legal costs, but they will only pay them if you actually sign the agreement.
Okay, so if that's not in there or my employer's not willing to pay, what can I do? Can I speak to a solicitor and can they get them to pay?
Yeah, so if you come to us and you say, my employer's offered me a settlement agreement, but they're not actually giving any contribution to my legal costs, the first thing we would do is go back to them and say, hold on a minute, it's normal for you to pay the legal costs. You're asking my client here, the employee, to sign up to this agreement, so you should, by rights, contribute to that.
Okay, and one thing that's on my mind as well is, what is the danger of not getting someone that knows the law to look over this for you? What's the biggest danger?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is in relation to the actual money you're receiving. So your employer could be offering you $2,000 to waive your rights and end your employment, but you might have a really good claim for discrimination that could be worth $20,000, and you might not know that. And somebody who isn't experienced in employment law might not be able to tell you that or to analyse your claims appropriately. So if you come to us, what we'll do is ask you a number of questions about what's happened and try to establish if you have any claims, what they are and what the value would be. And then we'll advise you about whether it's a fair settlement or not. If you go to a solicitor who isn't experienced in employment law, then they may just look through the agreement, tell you what it says and sign it off without advising you.
And can you negotiate to get me more money?
Yes, certainly that's something we can do. So we'll talk you through whether we think you have any potential claims, what the value may be, and we'll look at the fairness of what you're being offered in return for those rights that you're waiving. And if necessary, and if you want us to, then we'll try to negotiate with your employer. Not always can we get the result that you want, but we'll try really hard for you.
Brilliant. So, Alison, anything else you want to add that we haven't covered around settlement agreements today?
Yeah, there's a few other points in a settlement agreement that is really important to understand, because quite often you'll be signing up to confidentiality in there, and you might also be signing up to some post-termination restrictions, which are restrictions on what you can do after your employment ends. So that's another reason to get some specific advice from an employment solicitor.
Brilliant. Well, Brett, I hope that's answered your question. And if you need any additional help or support, just give us a call. And remember, guys, the truth is always out there. Stay legal.